Hello everyone. In this video I am painting a portrait in gouache. This is in my Bristol sketchbook. It's a Canson XL Bristol board. And I really like this paper for painting in gouache. I'm using some lifting and more water than would probably be normally recommended for gouache. But I decided to use the attributes that most people dislike. And that would be the lifting and activation of the paint to get some of the effects and more layering and blending. So initially I'm going in with a cream consistency for my sketch, and it is a mixture of almost every color in this little portable gouache container that I have made for some sample gouache that I was trying out. There are no neutral tones in this little curated set. So what I usually do is mix together the Naples yellow, a little bit of vermilion, turquoise, cobalt, and violet. And depending on cooler or warmer version of that, I just add more or less of the red or blue pigments. So that gives me kind of this warm brown, similar to like a really warm burnt sienna. And I'm using a stiff filbert brush with just plain water on it to go around and bleed it out after the sketch is pretty much dried. As you guys know, gouache dries relatively quickly. And as long as it isn't hit with a whole lot of water, it won't bleed too much, but you'll see it does bleed pretty good on this one. And don't let that scare you. All you really have to do is just leave it alone, kind of let it dry. You can pick it up with paper towel or with a stiff brush that doesn't hold a lot of water. But if you got a lot of water on the paper and you're not using watercolor paper, like I'm not in this video here, then you'll just end up having to wait a little bit, or you'll make a mess. I'm using a variety of brushes, and the most used brush will be this, I think it's like a 1/2 inch to a 1/4 inch wide filbert brush. And the other advantage of doing the water blending technique is, the thinner the layers, the easier it is to go in and build without too much risk of lifting out what you've already laid down. Sometimes when you go in pretty thick with gouache straight out and you want to do some glazing, then you're going to really melt that gouache and risk the possibility of lifting multiple layers, which will leave you a big bald spot, and it will be kind of hard to get the same color, let alone thickness, of those layers that you had erased. So the principle of using the white of the paper for this particular technique still applies. That way, you could always add more to the white by toning it a little bit and then going back in over it with white paint. So that way I kind of know where my white paint's going to go anyway. And then it tends to keep the white paint a little cleaner because you're not going in on too many other layers of color. Now, the only real trick around that is to let your paint dry completely. And then go in with very light hand and very thick white paint. And just do the tiniest little dabs to get that white paint to sit on top. The only real struggles I think I had with this particular painting, and as you guys know, I haven't done a portrait in a little while. It's been a good couple of weeks since I uploaded a portrait, and that one was watercolor. So it has been quite a while, actually, since I've used gouache. But I adore gouache, and I felt like I was back in my comfort zone when I was painting this little portrait. And I went on the back of some paper that I had already painted on, and it had marks on it and stuff, but with gouache, you're pretty much going to cover up anything that is already there, so I didn't worry too much about that. Yeah, as I was saying, the only thing that I really struggled with was the nose. Yes, not surprising. It's not me if I don't overwork and struggle on the nose. Try to play it safe in the beginning and just, ignore it. Lay down my initial sketch and then paint all around it until I felt brave enough to tackle it. But yeah, I didn't want to overwork it, and that's kind of hard for me for some reason. Noses can be very, very simple. You place them right, you just give a little indication, and that's that. But I really wanted that dimension, and as always, I kind of go in a little bit too dark. But the great thing about gouache is you can continue to lighten it up and go over and over again with your layers, provided you use a lot of, your basic primary colors in your mixes. Things tend to stay less muddy that way. I don't have a black or a brown, as I was mentioning earlier. And I do like the dark tones of blue and violet when it comes to hair and shadows. So that was what I was pretty much sticking to. Only problem with that is it wasn't getting as dark as I wanted it. But it was good enough. I really wish this violet would get, you could build it and make it darker. The M-gram dioxazine in the gouache is almost black, and this is Schminke violet. So you'll see when I go to use it in the background that it tends to lighten very quickly. The more water you add, and it doesn't take much, it just kind of fades to like a lavender tone. And these thin layers are allowing me to still continue to go in with water and blend without melting too much of it. And I'm just strategically laying down that water and letting it bleed, and then going to another area and working on that and just letting it dry. Almost all the brushes I'm using here are very stiff and synthetic. So a variety of rounds. I think I have a really small flat brush and that filbert. So those will definitely lift your layers if you press too hard, or for me, I'm using them intentionally for that reason. But yeah, they don't lay down a lot of water though, so that is mostly why I'm using them. And again, that filbert was intended for some very serious lifting. And one of the other tips and tricks I guess I could let you in on, if you didn't already know, the white gouache is always best used near the end. And plenty of times I've gone in too early with the white because, we all get excited about doing the highlights. And then realized I needed some more darks, or I put too much of it, or didn't wait for my water to dry. And it just spreads it out and dilutes it, and it doesn't give you that nice sparkly highlight you're looking for. So then you continue to go in and add some darks, then pretty soon you have a very muddy painting. Ironically, it's the white paint that ends up making things muddy. But yeah, you can solve that problem by just waiting till near the end. And what I usually do is I'll take a little bit of white and blend it with the main color that I've been using, like in this case, the skin tone. Do some of my medium gradations, and then take the pure white and add some lighter areas and some highlights. And if you do it pretty wet, it can just kind of melt in, or if you wait for everything to completely dry, you'll get those really sharp, sparkly highlights. This painting took me around an hour, which is 20 minutes longer than my average time it takes me to paint a portrait. So I sped it up a little bit, and I got it to shorten down to about 20 minutes. And then I cut out some dead space, and it was still 17 minutes. So I normally don't talk that long in my videos, so I'm just trying to kind of walk you guys through my process and anything I had been thinking about, or any tips I had on using this medium. I say that to pretty much to say that I don't have anything more to say. So with that, I am going to let you guys enjoy the rest of the video, and you can let me know down in the comments if you have any other questions that you think I might be able to answer about gouache. I tend to use it a little bit differently than some people, but you do what works for you. And yeah, like I said, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you like this video, or if you'd like me to do more gouache tips and tricks videos. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.